What if, what if you possessed a secret power, a silent, magnetic force that makes you, as an older man, deeply intriguing to a younger woman, a power that has nothing to do with the size of your bank account, the car you drive, or the lines on your face? Now, what if I told you that most men who have this power accidentally destroy it, often in a single conversation, the very moment they realize it's working? They hold a winning hand, only to fold because they misread the game entirely. This isn't about playing games, it's about understanding them. It's about a fatal mistake that turns a man from a prize to be won into just another guy trying to win her over. And it all comes down to a hidden psychological trigger that, once you understand it, will change the way you see every interaction forever. A younger woman's initial fascination with an older man is rarely about what he can give her, but about what he won't. She's not drawn to his age, but to the world she imagines he's built, a world with its own rules, its own gravity, its own purpose. He has an unshakable core, a mission that existed long before she entered the room, and will continue long after she leaves. This creates an unspoken advantage. He isn't trying to be a challenge. His life has forged him into one. His attention is a scarce resource because it's spent on things that matter to him, his business, his craft, his legacy. He isn't desperate for approval because he spent decades building his own. This natural, unforced restraint is magnetic. It's a quiet declaration of power that she rarely encounters from the men her own age, who are often still figuring out who they are, and flood her with attention as if it's an infinite currency. The older man's attention, she assumes, must be earned, and in that assumption lies the entire foundation of her attraction. Consider the story of Julian. He was an architect in his late 40s, known for his minimalist, almost severe building designs. He moved through his firm with a quiet intensity, his mind always wrestling with blueprints and structural challenges. In his world, praise was reserved for groundbreaking work, not just for showing up. Then, Clara joined the firm as an intern. She was 26, sharp, and carried an ambition that burned brighter than her smile. Julian noticed her, of course, the way a man notices a beautiful woman, but his focus remained on his projects. He treated her with professional courtesy, nothing more. He was often preoccupied, his answers to her questions direct and to the point. He wasn't being rude, he was simply being himself, a man consumed by his purpose. But to Clara, this was intoxicating. She was used to men her age who would instantly pivot their entire personality to please her. Julian didn't pivot. His world was the solid object, and she found herself orbiting it, trying to get closer to its warmth. She started working later, asking more intelligent questions about his designs, hoping to earn a moment of his undivided attention. She was trying to prove herself, to earn a foothold in his world, and then the fatal flip occurred. One evening, a trusted colleague pulled Julian aside. "You know Clara is completely into you, right?" he said with a laugh. "She talks about you constantly." In that single moment, the entire dynamic shattered. The world Julian had built, the one Clara was so desperately trying to enter, crumbled in his own mind. Suddenly, he saw her not as a talented intern, but as a romantic prospect, a validation of his own fading youth. The mysterious, accomplished architect vanished, replaced by a man who was suddenly eager. He started stopping by her desk to chat, complimenting her on mundane tasks. He'd text her right after work to say he enjoyed their brief chat in the break room. He was planning an elaborate dinner to impress her, to show her he was sophisticated. He had flipped from being the prize she was trying to win to just another man trying to win her. He had fallen headfirst into the validation trap, and in doing so began to smother the very spark that had ignited her interest in the first place. To understand why this shift is so devastating, you have to look at the primal code of attraction. This isn't a modern phenomenon, it's a hardwired pattern. Throughout a woman's life, she is often drawn to the validation of a more experienced, seemingly unattainable man. When she was a freshman in high school, she didn't want the nervous freshman boys. She daydreamed about the senior quarterback who barely knew her name. When she was in college, There was always that one professor whose approval in a discussion felt more meaningful than an A+ on the paper. It's not about a desire for money or status, but for a specific feeling, the feeling that his validation means more because it's harder to get. When a man's approval is given away freely, it feels cheap, like a flyer handed out on the street. But when his approval is a rare commodity, it feels like a trophy. Julian's sudden flood of attention told Clara that his validation wasn't a trophy to be won. It was a gift he was now desperate to give away. The challenge was gone. The mystery had vanished. He was no longer the imposing structure she admired from afar. He was just another building, wide open to the public. After a few weeks of this new, eager dynamic, Julian felt Clara pulling away. Their conversations became shorter, her energy more distant. The spark was gone. Confused and frustrated, he realized his approach was wrong. He had to stop trying to win her and go back to being the man who had intrigued her in the first place. He had to relearn the secret of the slow burn. This isn't about playing it cold or being manipulative. It's a profound mindset shift. The first rule of the slow burn is this: reveal your world, not your compliments. Instead of showering her with praise, you invite her to see what you value. You reveal your high standards through your stories and passions. Julian stopped the empty compliments. One afternoon, Clara showed him a design she was proud of. The old Julian would have gushed. The new Julian studied it for a moment, nodded, and then looked past the design and at her. He didn't praise it. Instead, he shared a story. "This reminds me of my first major project," he began. "Everything that could go wrong did. The client, the city, the budget." I almost walked away, but I learned that architecture isn't about perfect designs. It's about resilience. It's about loving the problem so much that you're willing to bleed for the solution. He wasn't talking about her design anymore. He was revealing his soul, his values, his world. He was revealing the standards for what truly impressed him. Suddenly, Clara wasn't just looking for his approval on a drawing. She was looking for a way to show him that she too possessed that resilience. He had reestablished the challenge, not by being distant, but by showing her the mountain she now had to climb. This led Julian to discover the most powerful tool in this entire dynamic, an ability that feels almost psychic to the person on the receiving end. I call it the oracle effect. It's the art of seeing what no one else sees. Most men validate the surface. "You're a nurse? That's amazing. You must be so caring." "You're into yoga? That's so cool." This is cheap validation. The oracle effect is about validating the deeper motivation behind the action, the core identity that drives her choices. It creates a moment of intense connection, a feeling of being profoundly understood in a way she has likely never experienced. A few days later, Clara was talking about her weekends, mentioning offhandedly that she ran marathons. The man in the validation trap would have immediately said, "Wow, you must be so disciplined." It's a nice compliment, but it's generic and forgotten in seconds. Julian, now understanding the new rules, paused. He looked at her thoughtfully and said, "You're not just a runner, are you?" She looked back, curious. "You're one of those people who is terrified of being average. It's not about the race. It's about a private war with that little voice that tells you to stop. You need to prove to yourself, over and over, that you can endure more than anyone else." The reaction was electric. Her face lit up with a look of stunned recognition. "Oh my God," she said quietly. "How did you know that?" In that moment, he wasn't just a man she had a crush on. He was an oracle. He had seen past the hobby and validated her deepest, most secret sense of self. This is the ultimate advantage an older man possesses. He has decades of experience reading people, of understanding motivations, of seeing the patterns of life. Younger men can't compete with this. They're still trying to figure out their own story. You have the wisdom to read hers. You're not just noticing her actions, you're seeing the story behind them. This is the kind of insight that creates a bond so powerful. It feels like destiny. Inevitably, the interaction will arrive at a critical moment, the final test. This is often when she brings up the age gap, usually disguised as a playful joke. "So, what was it like in the 90s? or "I bet you have socks older than me." Most men crumble here. They get defensive. Age is just a number, awkward, or they rush to overcompensate with a compliment. "Well, you're just so mature for your age." They fail the test because they treat his age as a disadvantage that needs to be excused. The man who understands the oracle effect treats it as the very source of his power. When Clara eventually tried it with Julian saying, "My parents would have a fit if they knew I was getting drinks with a man your age," he didn't flinch. He simply smiled, held her gaze, and said, "Of course they would. And a part of you loves that, doesn't it? The little bit of rebellion. But the bigger part of you is here because you're tired of boys. You're curious to know what it feels like to be seen, truly seen, by a man who has already figured out his own world." He didn't apologize for his age. He framed it as the exact reason she was sitting there, drawn to him. He passed the test not by deflecting, but by demonstrating his unique power of perception. In the end, the powerful attraction a younger woman feels for an older man is a delicate ecosystem. It's not about the years that separate you, but about the world of experience those years have built. The fatal mistake is abandoning that world to chase after hers. The secret is to make your world so compelling that she wants nothing more than to earn a place within it. Your validation should not be a handout. It should be a recognition, a prize she feels she has rightfully won by showing you the unique and powerful qualities she possesses. You become the man whose approval actually matters, whose insight feels like a revelation. Every interaction is a choice. You can be the man who drowns her in easy compliments, or you can be the man who offers her a rare and precious challenge. So ask yourself as you move forward, are you the man whose validation is a gift, freely and desperately given to anyone who shows you a moment of interest? Or are you the man whose validation is a treasure, a reflection of your high standards that must be truly earned? The answer to that question determines everything.